Hey, welcome to Wolf's Watch today. How are you? How you doing? Glad you're part of the conversation. As always, as a leader of the pack, I'm out scouring the countryside to bring back food for the pack. In this case, food being tips for the mindset, leadership tips, what's working, spotlights on businesses so you can learn from other entrepreneurs and share the journey with them. And also at times it can be isolating, right? Especially during the Great Shutdown, it's been very isolating because connecting with other people face to face has been, shall we say, difficult. And on the entrepreneur's journey, and a lot of times you may feel isolated. There are times when I certainly have. And that's why we bring this. That's what I scout for when I'm out. I may look like a lone wolf out in the grass, but I'm never far away from the pack. And today I wanted to share just a couple things with you about what horseback riding taught me about leading in turbulent times. Before we do that, I want to share a fun video with you. Let's see if I can pull this off. This was taken while out adventuring about. Let's see if I can close that. Here, check this out. So check out that background. So what you're seeing in the background there, this is a view from a hill that overlooks Torrance, California. This is looking toward northwest towards the Pacific Ocean. You can't really see it that well because there's haze in the background, but where the land ends, that's where the ocean begins. So that blue haze in the background is really the Pacific Ocean. And we were out for a ride in what is kind of rural city, if you will. So there's trails that go behind a lot of really nice houses. Some of them are horse properties, and they're butted up against the horse riding trails in this area. There's spots where the trails have tunnels for the horses. If you can imagine that, not a person tunnel or an automobile tunnel to go underneath a major boulevard, but this is actually tunnels that were made so that people can ride horses, which was pretty neat to be able to go under major boulevards and stay in the in the canyons around that particular area. So now this angle, she was going to be doing incredible. This is several years old. I'm sorry, the event has already happened. It was fantastic. Should have been there. That's a story for another time, though. She did a 3-day training of live, fully immersed role-playing games as a teaching vehicle. She is one of the top 3 people in the world at designing those types of games, and it was an incredible event. What I want to draw your attention to here is this view is now looking north. That street that you see, that boulevard, is Hawthorne Boulevard through Torrance, looking north towards West LA. And if you notice so this is a tip that I want to give you. First tip that I learned from horseback riding. If you see the horse that I'm on in this video, his name is Duke. Duke is a very tall horse. He's a very young horse, which means he's rambunctious. So I like that. I can relate to that. I'm not, the young buck anymore. I'm not the young wolf, but I'm certainly not old. Then, let's say matured some. Don't laugh too hard, but compared to when I was younger. So the thing with this horse, so here's this extremely tall. I had to get up on several steps. They have this. It's like you're walking up to a podium to get a gold medal at the Olympics. You had to take 4 steps up in order to be able to mount the horse. So this is a rambunctious younger horse that they put me on. I'm a novice rider. In fact, I've only been horseback riding like 4 times in my entire life. So what do? They give me the wild horse to ride. And now it's not completely fair to Duke. He was well behaved, but he had a lot of energy. He wanted to get out and run. I'm game for that. I just don't know what to do with a running horse because I'm a novice. So where's the leadership tip in that? Here's the leadership tip. I trusted the people that I had asked to put this event together for us. As this was a couple hours on the trails. Eldana and I do a lot of work together, and it was a good chance to talk and collaborate. She used to barrel race. If you can imagine that. She used to barrel race when she was a teenager And so a very accomplished horseback rider was enjoying the ride, was laughing at me, was laughing with me, along the way, laughing at a lot, which was fine. I was like, I knew. So that's part of the leadership tip. I knew where my skill set was and my skill level, my level of mastery with regard to riding the horse. And I also knew they gave me a horse that was way outside of my level of competence in terms of horseback riding. So I trusted the people that put this event together for us, to be able to go horseback riding for a couple hours, to know what they were doing and followed their guidance. Right. And as a leader, that is something that you need to do, is to be clear. Where are you with the given task? Because you are not good at everything. And you shouldn't have to be good at everything. You are good at certain things, which is your superpower in life, your superpower in your business as an entrepreneur. You want to focus on those things. When outside of those things, you need to have highly competent people that you can trust. And when you do that, when you put them in a position, you turn over the reins of leadership to them, you need to allow them to do their thing and trust that they won't get you hurt. Right? Putting me on a horse like that, if they could have gotten me injured, could have gotten the horse injured or worse, because we were in areas where, we're crossing streets, with automobiles, and there are, in different areas where could have fallen into one of the canyons. If I had lost control of the horse, could have, ended up in traffic or done something, if I was not working well with the horse. So here's an even crazier point, if you will. So second point was I needed to collaborate with the horse and trust that the horse knew what he was doing. Because one of the things that I learned was, as a novice rider, is, the horse will go back to all things being equal, the horse will go back to the barn and look for food and comfort, a place to rest and get something to eat. Sounds kind of human in some ways, huh? I don't know about you, but that's kind of my motive. I love to get out and explore. Part of exploring is finding an interesting place to sit and rest and explore some new food as well, some new cuisine along the way. And I had to trust that Duke knew how to follow the other horses, knew how to work the trail, and knew how to respond to a rider so that I could work with him to have a good experience. Because if the horse has a good experience, if the trail lead has a good experience, I'm going to have a good experience. So how does that present in your life as an entrepreneur, as a leader? Let me close this out. As an entrepreneur, as a leader, how does that present in your life in terms of trusting the technology that you're working with, trusting the person that's doing something that you've asked them to do because they have the expertise to do it, trusting someone that you are training to do something because you trust they have the ability to grow into the role that you're training them for, whether it's technical activity, whether it's a leadership role. You have to be able to do that. So horseback riding was a good analogy on that day for me as we were doing that. And here's a third tip that I got from when we were on the trail, because I was trusting the people around me, because I was trusting the horse to do what he was doing, because I was taking direction from the expert, from the person that had the higher, the trail master had higher level of mastery than I did. So I zipped my lip, listened to what he said, asked questions when I was in doubt, asked for help when, and there were times where I was struggling to work with Duke effectively to get where we wanted to go, to be able to hold a pace when we picked up the pace a little bit from, just from a slow walk to a trot in areas, because this was hilly country, as you can see. It's a bit of a hill that we're on there. So, we were up the hill, down the hill, in the canyons, on some flat spots, in areas where we were around other people and cars and horses, and the horses get a little bit entertaining, a little bit skittish when they meet other horses along the trail. So I was taking direction on how to handle with that, asking for help when I was struggling to do it. And I don't know about you, but I do not like to ask for help. I do not like to admit that I'm struggling. I do not like to be seen struggling with stuff. I want to learn it, master it, and then go public. If only life worked that way. If only business worked that way, right? It's like I take the best that I've got, move forward with it, and make sure I've got people around me that I can reach out to that'll help me as I begin to stumble and struggle, because it's just going to happen. Does that ring true with your experience? You got to take what you've got today, your level of mastery with it, and go and make sure that you keep yourself in a position that as you begin to stumble and struggle, because you will, if you don't, you're not trying hard enough, you're not stretching enough, you're probably not going to achieve much or aren't achieving much uh, currently. As you begin to stumble and struggle, then reach out to those people to help you get through that, to grow into what's coming up next. Or if you're doing something that's not your gift, to be able to hand it off to them and say, here, take the lead on this, and then be able to follow. So that's a fourth tip that I learned from this particular horseback riding experience. In order to be able to lead, it's necessary to learn to follow, because there are times when you will be in the lead position. You'll be leading the pack, right? You'll be leading the trail. You'll be first horse and rider on the trail, and everyone's looking to you to point the direction and lead the way, to model the way. And there'll be times when you need to step back and demonstrate leadership from the standpoint of going, okay, we need you to lead on this, and you let that person do it. You honor them stepping up at your request by supporting them stepping up, by following what they're doing, by trusting their direction because you asked, right? You gave them the leadership role, and you have to do that at times. If you're going to accomplish anything great with your life, there are times when you need to allow others to lead. You need to ask others to lead, and you need to step back, allow that to happen, and support them in that, not fight them, not manage them from the backseat. That's backseat driving. You need to let them do what you've asked them to do, and demonstrate for everybody else. You're still a leader, and this is still a leadership role for you. You're demonstrating for everyone else how to follow, because they need to learn how to follow so that they can then become better leaders as well, so that they understand, they can see you doing that. So you modeling the way, it's helping them, because they're still watching how you're reacting. If you let someone else lead and it's clear that, you still got your hand on their back and you're guiding them around, then they know not to trust that person, because you're not allowing them to actually lead. They'll still look to you instead of looking to them. Well, if you had the answers, you wouldn't have put that person in the leadership role at that time. You need to let them lead. Plus, when you ask them to lead, they'll know not to lead. They won't really step up. They'll half do it. They'll fake it. They'll just appease, because they have seen how you treat others. And that creates the assumption, whether right or wrong, that what you really want is for them to just fake it, because you're still going to lead from behind. Never do that. There's no such thing as leading from behind. There's modeling the way. There's being the leader that's stepping back and allowing others to step forward and shine as leaders. But there's no such thing as leading from behind in an active sense, beyond showing people what is expected when as a leader, you hand the reins over to someone else. So 4 quick tips on what I learned from horseback riding. It was a beautiful day when we were out on that ride. Let me pull this back up for a second again. If you can see that, it was nice temperature. It was good jeans, boots, and short sleeves day. We got some video from it. I didn't have the adventure cam and my Hero. Now I've got a Hero rig where camera just sits on the shoulder, which I used when I was horseback riding in Colorado. I have some tips on that and some video clips at another time. But imagine that, high plains of Colorado. I don't know about you, but I'm a Clint Eastwood fan. High plains drifter. It's around the high plains of Colorado, riding for a sunset ride. Then it was beautiful. And I had, it was a better ride. It's still a novice rider, but I was doing better, because keep doing it, keep learning from good trail masters, and, I'm continuing to grow. And I just thoroughly enjoy the experience. Is very, very old school, if you will. It's something we've been doing as people, as humans, for thousands of years, right? Riding horses. And so that was just, again, 4, I'll stop reminiscing, let you get going. That was 4 quick tips, what I learned from horseback riding. Just wanted to share that with you, and a little bit of the video, because it was such a beautiful view. And it was such a different view too, because I had driven up Hawthorne Boulevard so many times, and I could see the top of that hill, and occasionally saw people riding horses on the trails. And then that particular day, I finally got to stand there and look around and go, "Wow!" So so this is what's here. This, so found the trail, how to get there. Got to see the view is stupendous, and it's always amazing, isn't it? How different things look when you get to stand. You see a high point, and you go, "Wow, that's beautiful!" Up on that ledge on that mountain, and you hike up there. You may even have to do a little bit of rock climbing to get to it, and you're standing on that ledge and looking back out and going, "Oh my gosh, how different it is." Also puts in perspective, right? Because from Hawthorne Boulevard, those two horses with us on it look like that big. And up there looking down, I see all the little, the cars look smaller than ants. And it gives some perspective on, how big I am relative to the tiny blue marble that we live on in the massively big universe that we live in. Something for you to consider too. Consider that a fifth tip. What's your perspective on that? That's a whole another conversation for several other times. And we will have that conversation. But for today, just leave you with that. Thanks for joining Wolf's Watch. It's always good to see you. And we will be out foraging and ranging around. I'll see you on the trail.